Hello and welcome to World Talks with me, Ashim Kumar. Energy security and geopolitics are converging in the South Caucasus as Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, visits Azerbaijan ahead of an EU-Armenia summit. Rising tensions, regional transit routes and greater power diplomacy are reshaping the landscape. We're joined by Mahammad Mammadov from the Topchubashov Center. Mr. Mammadov, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
So there's a lot of activity going on in the South Caucasus. In Armenia, we've got the EU summit. In Azerbaijan, we've got Giorgia Meloni visiting. Tell us about Giorgia Meloni's visit. What's that all about? It's been a while since an Italian Prime Minister has visited Baku.
Yes, Italy has long been Azerbaijan's major strategic partner in the EU because, as you know, Azerbaijani foreign policy, especially in its relations with the EU, relies mainly on strategic partners. Baku has 10 of them, and Italy is the major one because Italy is Azerbaijan's largest trade partner, and it's mostly about Azerbaijani natural gas exported to Italy. In 2025, it was about 10 billion cubic meters, and right now it accounts for about 16% of Italy's natural gas needs. And in times of this growing weaponization of strategic infrastructure, especially natural gas, again, especially after the close of the Strait of Hormuz, which closed the Qatari gas to the global markets, we saw this growing strategic importance of the pipeline gas, and it shows how important Azerbaijan becomes to the European Union. In recent years, there was some discussions between Brussels and Baku that would increase Azerbaijani gas supplies to the EU, but there was some hesitation in some part due to green agenda in the EU. But right now we see that from both Baku and Brussels that there's some commitment to increase the amount of Azerbaijani gas supplies to Europe. And again, especially for Italy. Natural gas is one part, and another part is Italy has recently been very active to gain access to Central Asian resources, especially after Russia's invasion of Ukraine and Chinese weaponization of critical minerals in its exports. So in that context, again, Azerbaijan is a critical, pivotal point in Italy's access to Central Asia through Trans-Caspian routes.
Now, there is talk of Azerbaijan becoming the EU's energy hub. How do you see that evolving? Is this a direct consequence, as you say, the weaponization by Russia of oil and gas against Europe? And how is that shaping up? What do you expect to see?
Again, the expectation is that Azerbaijan will increase the amount. So there are two options. One is that new gas fields will come online soon, I think from 2028. So with that, Azerbaijan plans to increase the amount of gas supplies to Europe from today's 13 billion cubic meters to something like 16 billion cubic meters. And again, Italy is the main candidate destination point. And last year, there was some agreement strike with Germany too. So it all shows probably the export capacity of the Southern Gas Corridor, huge gas pipeline infrastructure will increase. And the second point is that Azerbaijan has been developing its renewable energy resources. So it means that Azerbaijan will transfer the electricity from the renewables to its domestic market. So it will free up some gas resources to be exported to the European market. So these 2 points will help Baku to meet its commitments for the European Union. On the other hand, Azerbaijan is preparing to play the role of transit country for the export of Central Asian resources to the European markets. Again, Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan are big players, and right now, if Brussels has been having discussions with both Astana and Ashgabat about the possible new export of resources to the European Union. So in that regard, Azerbaijan will be the key transit state for Central Asian resources.
Now, how is this shift in relationships going down in the Kremlin, and what response do we expect from Russia, considering the historic relationship between the Caucasus and Russia?
Yes, definitely Kremlin is unhappy about it. But the point is that in today's conditions, they do not have many leverage in their toolbox to influence the direction of events in the South Caucasus. And in the context of the ongoing war in Ukraine and on the ongoing clash between, okay, there is a ceasefire between Iran and the United States and Israel, South Caucasus and the Trans-Caspian corridor emerge as a stable link between the EU and Central Asia. And here, Turkey and the South Caucasus are the main stabilizers. But in this context, Russia is unhappy about it. The greater involvement of United States and EU, even to a certain extent China and the South Caucasus. But due to its attention being sucked up in Ukraine, it does not have many options to directly intervene and prevent this cooperation from deepening further.
Okay, I'd like to move on to Iran now. How would you characterize the relationship between Iran and Azerbaijan as they stand at the moment?
It's a very complicated scenario because, on the one hand, Iran, in the context of the war against Israel and the United States, targeted Azerbaijani territory in March. But on the other hand, a few days later, there was some normalization. Azerbaijani president talked to Iranian President Pezeshkian, and foreign ministers have been frequently being in contact. But we see that increasingly in Iran, hardliners are consolidating their control in decision making, and especially among those groups who view Azerbaijan's deepening ties with Israel and Turkey suspiciously. So in that context, it will depend on what kind of an order Iran sees after its clash with the U.S. and Israel in the neighborhood. Because whenever Iran clashed with the United States and Israel, they try to move closer to their neighbors and alternative great powers like Russia and China to get out of isolation. But we'll see how they will see Azerbaijan's cooperation in Israel after this war ends, because we saw what happened to the Gulf partners of the United States and Israel. And so right now the relations are complicated, but Azerbaijan and Iran have many areas they can cooperate, one of which is the North-South corridor, and the negotiations are still ongoing in that regard to keep the channels open between the two countries.
Well, that may be so. However, it has become clear from Iran's actions, in other words, attacking its neighbors, that it wants to expand what's happening, the war in Iran, to the region, to make it a regional conflict. Why should Azerbaijan be left out of that strategy by Iran?
Well, the simplest argument could be that Azerbaijan does not host any American or Israeli base on its territory. Another one could be that Azerbaijan has very strong alliance system that Iran would not be happy to deal with, especially Turkey. And another reason could be that there is a huge Azerbaijani population living in the northern borders, and any escalation along the borders with Azerbaijan could open Pandora's box in Iran. Because, as you know, Iranian government not only fight its enemies externally, but also internally. The government is trying to consolidate its control in the domestic politics. As you know, just a few weeks before some war started in February, there were huge mass protests, anti-government protests in Iran. So they are very cautious about the domestic stability. So it all comes in and shows why Iran has been so cautious in its relations with Azerbaijan, I think.
Understood. I'd like now to talk about the relationship between Azerbaijan and Armenia. There's been a truce agreed. How do things stand there?
Azerbaijan and Armenia has been bilaterally and successfully pushing forward the normalization and peace building, let's say, agenda. And in recent months, there have been some positive support from external powers, be it the United States in the context of the Washington Declaration in August 2025, or now EU agenda. So right now it's bilateral, and the two sides are openly saying that the key goal is the institutionalization of peace. Because if there is no institutionalization, it means that in the long term, it can be unsustainable and prevented by some revanchist powers, especially in Armenia. So in the context of Azerbaijan, the expectation is that after June elections in Armenia, the ongoing process, peace talks with Armenia will continue, and finally the peace deal will be signed. So again, the key word here is institutionalization.
Right. Well, speaking of institutionalization, the Armenians aren't particularly happy with Russia either. They were looking to Russia for greater support and didn't receive it. Is that helping Armenia move closer to the EU, in your opinion?
Yes, right now the Armenian official narrative is that they are not moving away from Russia. They are they are not replacing one integration mechanism, alliance with another one, let's say Russia with the EU, but they are saying that they are just diversifying. But it's really interesting how long Armenia will afford it, because you cannot sit at two chairs at the same time. I mean, you cannot have a cake and eat it too. So it will be very difficult. But so far, they have been deepening relations with the EU and France, especially among the EU member states, and the United States in both economic and defense areas. And again, the key argument is that Russia did not help Armenia in its, let's say, most important hours. So Yerevan is going a long way to diversify and find alternative partners. And in the defense area, they found it in France and India. And economic area, they are turning to the EU, and they can even apply to EU membership soon. So in that context, it's, again, here the key word is diversification, rather than replacing one ally with another one.
Perhaps it's all just semantics, Mr. Mammadov. Thank you very much indeed for your analysis. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of this episode of World Talks. Don't go away, lots more coming up. Goodbye.